Hello. We're doing this. We're here. Let me see if you're hearing this. Yeah. Hopefully I'm not too loud. Is that? Oh, that's almost in frame. Let's just do that. All right. Wow. So yeah, we're here this week, and I'm a little bit recovered. Still suffering from whatever biological agents or pollen or whatever this whole country is dealing with. But I'm here, and yeah, it was a close call. My computer was a little bit tied up overnight, and when I got here, it was still busy, so I wasn't sure if I would be able to actually stream. But it happened. Sorry, I always forget that Twitch isn't muted, so I always hear myself echoing. Yeah, so thanks for coming by again to watch this nonsense, and hopefully we'll do something interesting at this point. Yeah, so we're here in April doing the weekly live stream for abuse cartoons and the domestic abuse gag cartoon. So twice a week, and if you want to change that, let me know at Patreon. Yeah, become a patron and get some good stuff, and also help this become a more than once a week affair. But yeah, for now, let's catch up with yeah, with the weekly cartoon. So yeah, there wasn't really any big theme. I actually kind of gave up gave up the hope of streaming this week, but I just decided to put everything on hold and get this done. And actually, yeah, I adjusted the camera so the back window's totally blown out, but oh well, we'll get this a little bit more white balanced next time. So you can't see all the funny people walking around trying to go see the cherry blossoms, which is what everyone does at the last week of March and the first week of April, or the first couple of days, I guess, of April, is all about the cherry blossoms in Japan, and all about your company making you sit on a piece of blue plastic tarp underneath the cherry trees and drink warm beer and yeah, pay respect to your department manager. Yeah, it's a real fun time. The other interesting thing happening is this is kind of the beginning of the business year, and it's also the kind of time of renewal here. So school years begin. New workers start their jobs during this time. So moving companies, you know, this is a gold mine for them. So during the last week of March is when everybody moves, because kids are out of school and they're actually between school years. So people will get forced by their company to relocate, and this is the time. And I'm sure it costs a fortune to move during this week, but this is the only time you can move when your kids aren't in school, and they're not going to be breaking up the school year. So so everyone's starting their new company, and all of the companies that hired, which it's getting a little bit better. It used to be that companies were barely hiring, but now you see more and more of the young hopefuls in their little black business suits headed off to their first day of work. It's gotta be a nightmare to realize that prison sentence that you just worked so hard to award yourself with. It's got to be a real frustrating experience to yeah, work so hard for university, and a lot of universities that, you know, feed you right into companies. You know, there's a lot of companies with connections that and the more, you know, like a doctor or pharmacist or, you know, even scientist, you get fed right into positions that you know, give you hopefully a lifetime career, which is, it's not so much the case here anymore, but that used to be how things was done. And now they still have that kind of ritual. So you literally are taking an entrance exam, and they're looking at your university grades and everything, but the companies themselves, so not only the high schools and universities here, but also the companies have entrance exams, and a lot of them are based on this, like, you know, core competency or kind of basic knowledge that everyone should have kind of testing. So a little bit of history, a little bit of math, you know, a little bit of everything just to, and I think they get specialized too. The companies specialize them so that you, if you're working for a newspaper, there's probably, you know, newspaper or publishing based, you know, information that they're finding out if you know. But it's pretty funny. I can't imagine testing into a company. I do remember though when I was a high school kid trying to get a job at one of the big box toy stores, and they had you take that I forget what it is. It's one of those standardized like morality tests. It's like 100 questions, or just as ridiculous, maybe only 50, but a ridiculous amount of questions, multiple choice questions that are kind of like the if you've ever played Fallout, any of the Fallout games, the more recent Fallout games, where you have that classroom scene where you're having the morality, or you're having the test of, you know, what would you do? You find a wallet full of money, or you find an injured dog or whatever, and just kind of testing your testing what you're cut out for. So it was that kind of thing. And who even knows? And so I'm sure it's built to try to be smarter than you. So you are, when you're second guessing it, it's probably paying attention to how you're trying to second guess, like how you're obviously lying about things. So I always wonder how I did that. You don't get the score. You either get hired or you don't get hired. So I always wondered how I did on that test, because that was such a bizarre, you know, kind of social experiment, or such a weird thing to have to go through. And especially as a high school kid, you know, it's just you're pretty selfish and haven't done much with your life, so not a lot of life experience to feed into those questions. But yeah, so there's tests to get into companies, and this is the season now. So this week is the week where there's the welcome parties, and everybody puts on their first suit, the last suit they're ever going to need, kind of Men in Black style. And they crowd onto the trains, and these little tiny, you know, 20-something kids go off to the companies to be overworked and harassed by their superiors for decades. So that's fun. And yeah, so you get to see that during this season. And the interesting thing is, it seems like the younger generation, I think this is, you know, in all countries now, this is the thinking. The younger generations are just completely intolerant of, you know, how things work, and what you have to do, you know, to be successful, or to, you know, what you have to do in a company to get along. You know, you have to eat a lot of garbage from your higher ups before you're going to you know, be able to get anything done. You got to do a lot of grunt work and a lot of punishing, kind of, you know, go get the coffee or whatever low level. Sorry about this. Let's see what's going on here. Well, you got to do a lot of low level work, and the stress of the working world, I think, compared to university, especially university here, has to be pretty shocking. You know, how hard they expect you to work, and the kind of games that your managers and people are going to be playing. Okay, I am totally cut off from any keyboard access here. What's going on? Okay, so I don't want this. Oh, there it goes. Finally. Jeez, that was scary. Yeah, so they have in the first probably a few weeks, it might be a little bit longer than that, but you have just the drop off of people just saying, this is too much. Yeah, I'm not doing this. I thought this was going to be different. This isn't what I thought it was. And just kind of bailing on these companies. And in some cases, I've heard that the employees themselves don't quit. The parents of the employees call up the boss and tell them, this is too hard. You know, my son or daughter is miserable. And so they're quitting. And it took so much to get that position. For the most part, you know, you were probably, you know, 3 of 1,000 people that were offered that position. So it's pretty amazing that they don't stick with it. And always, you know, anybody that has started a new job knows that's the most stressful time and the most, you know, the time that really tests you, because you got to push yourself, you know, harder than you ever have to make a good impression and to kind of learn the ropes. And a lot of people just don't even want to do that anymore. They really need things handed to them, or they really need to be spoon fed or whatever. And so there's a large number of just, yeah, I'm not doing this kind of reactions to working at the new company. And these are not just, you know, kids that were smoking pot in their parents' basements and then decided to try working at McDonald's. These are kids that have worked very hard at their university careers and were very accomplished, done very well, and place in, you know, they get their dream job, they get their dream position. And when they find out what that is, then, you know, they don't want it. So it's very interesting. And you don't have a lot of flexibility here. You're not going to, you know, start your own company as easily. You're not going to do anything small time that's going to be able to be the next, you know, Google or Apple or Microsoft. You know, you're not going to be able to do that within this culture. It's already secured. All the old companies control all the markets. You're not getting in. And so there's a lot less hopefulness, or a lot less ambition here to do it your own way. And so it's got to be pretty frightening. And I guess so then May is a really high time for suicide here, because either people didn't get into the university they wanted to get into, they got into the job or didn't get into the job, and either found it was terrible, or, you know, felt like they failed. And so there's a lot of suicide in May. So look forward to train delays. They have the wonderful kanji on the warning signs, and I think the English translation is, you know, human interacting with train is the way that they tell you that we have a jumper. So that's a unique cultural event here. But yeah, so we're coming up on that season where people have either felt that they failed or are very disillusioned by their lives and decide they don't want them anymore. Oh, so yeah, so we have that, but it's really beautiful. And if you've never been to Japan in the spring and you've seen photos of it, and it just looks ridiculous. It looks unreal. It looks like people have made these trees out of paper and, you know, set them up. It looks completely artificial. Believe me, it's not. It's an unreal looking thing. And yeah, the trees here in full bloom, because I've planted so many of them. They're just, you know, along every riverbank, around every palace, you know, bordering every park. There's these Japanese cherry trees everywhere, sakura trees, that it's just amazing. And so right after full bloom, they start to release the petals, and it's just like constant snowfall in this, you know, breezy, warm, wonderful spring weather. It's really, really unbelievable. So you should you owe it to yourself at least once to experience that. I keep putting the mic in frame, but I'm also not I don't think I'm bending over enough. But it's pretty amazing, and worth experiencing, because yeah, the first time I saw it, I was just, yeah, this can't be real. It looks completely artificial. It just looks like it's too idealistic and too perfect. It's one of those natural things that is hard to accept this is actually going on. So yeah, it's a peak tourist time. It's going to be crowded and miserable, and you may miss it because depending on the weather, the full bloom of the trees in different areas, different elevations, and different areas is pretty spread out over that last week of March, first week of April. So you want to try to get in there somewhere, but you very well could miss full bloom. You could leave Japan before full bloom, or you could arrive here and the leaves are already pushing their way, you know, through the blossoms, and there's nothing to see here. So yeah, it's a little bit of a gamble, but well worth it. It's just amazing. Yeah, and if you've seen the trees in Washington D.C. that were given to the U.S. by Japan, yeah, it's just that everywhere. And, you know, but in the more gentle, beautiful, cleaner Japanese setting. So, yeah, it's really amazing. So, spring in Japan. Yeah, so the hanami parties, the drinking and at night, and that's another interesting aspect to the cherry blossoms, because the petals are so light colored. Any amount of moonlight or, you know, street lights or anything make them just glow beautifully even at night. So sitting under cherry trees and, you know, drinking and eating with coworkers is a common, or with friends or family or whatever, is a pretty common practice here. And everybody, you know, a lot of people buy that standard hardware store blue plastic sheeting. So you see that when you see those like staked down in a an area in a park, you know that's, you know, some company is sending all their employees to drink under the trees. All right, so I don't know what we're doing today here, so I'll just keep drawing until I find something. But yep, so that's spring here. So definitely spring and fall are the most you know, wonderful times. And, you know, unless you're into winter sports, skiing and snowboarding, definitely spring and fall are the nicest times to be here, because you're not dealing with the ungodly humidity like you are in the summer. And yeah, it's a nice time, nice mild weather. And fall's another one of those things that's really hard to you really have to get lucky to hit the leaves at the peak time, because, you know, just like spring, it relies on the weather. So if you're interested, get in touch. If you're interested in coming to Japan during one of the seasons, get in touch with me in the comments or direct message, and I'll let you know when they've targeted the, and I think you can probably even find that online now too, but when they have targeted the peak of these seasons to be, because yeah, it's definitely worth trying to catch the peak. But yeah, really amazing stuff. But yeah, so I'll just keep going at it here. Yeah, so what else has been going on? So, we started a new series, which is in the middle of being edited on the Idle Red Hands website, which is the straight to Netflix. So we're going to talk about a lot of the things that have shown up on Netflix that either got a little bit of a theatrical release or were just directly sent to Netflix. So things like Duncan Jones's Mute, that's the first thing we talk about, and then of course things like Annihilation or Altered Carbon. A lot of the things, and it's a little bit different here because I think we're getting things differently. Like in Japan, we had the Star Trek Discovery only on Netflix here, but I know there's like the CBS premium service or subscription service that it appeared on in the US, and we just get it on Netflix. So yeah, there's a lot of strange international deals with some of these things. So some of it is going to be straight to Netflix for us, but it may not necessarily be the case you know, in other areas. But what's nice is we get it almost as currently, or you know, almost as timely as America does. So we don't have to be, you know, 3 to 6 months behind talking about something, which I don't know, we're trying to turn that into, you know, some sort of advantage for the podcast, or, you know, some sort of you know, part of what we do is just kind of give a very delayed reaction kind of after we've seen how other people are reacting, or how, you know, how the internet as a whole, because I'm sure everyone listening to this is familiar with that phenomena of the internet deciding that something is good or bad, and you get kind of this hive mind, this kind of, you know, mob mentality of this was terrible, and there's, you know, enough headlines and enough reviewers kind of reinforce that. Although, you know, now we have this kind of weird polarizing thing where you have these, you know, two extreme views, but very often things that don't check too many political boxes and are just, you know, entertainment, the internet likes to you know, pass a verdict on very quickly, so that people are like, oh, that's terrible, or I read that was bad, and so you're kind of pre-opinionated you know, by that. And so we're kind of coming at it a little bit later and trying to be a little bit more thoughtful and talk about it. And we can also, you know, react to the reaction, or react to the initial response to things, and we're seeing things in a such a funny, you know, distant, removed way, you know, kind of that out-of-body experience. You're floating above yourself, and we're not experiencing things the way that we would in context of North America, you know, living there, working there. And so it's different. I think it helps us have a different perspective, and yeah, I hope people appreciate that, or hopefully they, you know, appreciate a thoughtful, distanced kind of looking at some of these things. And so if you skip something because it had some sort of negative response, or something turned you off about it, hopefully hearing a kind of you know, second opinion, or a re-examining, I guess would be a good way to put it. Hearing that re-examining of it may get you interested in going back to it. And that's kind of what we did with the straight to Netflix. We kind of gave both of our opinions, and they ended up being kind of opposite opinions. And so that either will motivate you to go seek this out if you were curious about it, or, you know, help you to stay away from it if it seems like it'd be a waste of time. So that's what we're doing. And yeah, so look for that straight to Netflix coming soon to a YouTube channel near this one, linked maybe to this one. Maybe it should be linked to this one. I haven't done that yet. Yeah. But so you can see me in all kinds of different configurations, talking about all sorts of pop culture and gaming things. All right, but back to the cartooning here. Yeah, I guess a folded blue plastic sheet. That's what we need, right? Yeah, I remember once we lost in the Santa Ana winds in Los Angeles, we lost some asphalt tiles off the roof of our house. That's how hard the wind was blowing. And the genius DIY home repair guru that I am, I went up there, and to avoid I think the rainy season was like right around that time too, so to help us not completely you know, have our ceiling water damaged, I put one of those blue plastic tarps up there, just kind of stapled it up there for some temporary kind of waterproofing over just that exposed plywood, you know, that was left. This is one of those amazing you know, 60s, 70s houses that was exposed there, and having no idea that they are completely not made to handle any of the elements at all, and just through sun exposure and a little bit more wind, they just turn into shredded blue plastic confetti. And so what was left of the wind and the heat and everything just blew pieces of plastic all over the neighbor's yard. So that was embarrassing. So yeah, that's my happy memory and experience of these blue plastic tarps. And I've seen them do the same things here. Americans actually do the same exact stupid thing here in Japan. They'll cover wood piles or something with these things, and they don't endure the elements at all. They break down immediately, and then you've got this shredded plastic, you know, blowing everywhere. And so they break down, the sheets themselves break down because they're kind of reinforced with like nylon thread or something through them to give them, you know, some strength so they don't rip. But the plastic breaks down, and then you've got this plastic not decomposing, just pieces of it everywhere. So that's nice. And yeah, but I've actually even seen that here, people stupidly using those as a long-term solution to something that's just gonna make a nightmare. Okay, I think I'm drawing a little bit small today, but hopefully that'll be okay. All right. So how are we doing? Sorry, let me just take a quick check and make sure there's actually sound and picture and all that stuff. Okay. Yeah, so let me just write into the room to make sure. Hello, everybody watching. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll keep talking and not talking to the chat. All right, so yeah, so spring and cherry blossoms and drinking under the cherry blossoms. Yeah, we've got that. We've got all that going on in this season. And what else? Yeah, so the beginning of school year and beginning of new jobs. So that's got to be, in some households, that's got to be all kinds of stress, depending on how far apart your kids are in age and all that stuff. And then all the relocation. I mean, that's the thing. That's the catch. You know, that's the what is that called? The bad part of the bargain is, oh, okay, this company will employ you for life, but they tell you to go here, you go there. They tell you to go there, you go there. So you're, you know, constantly under threat of relocation and, you know, stranding your family with, you know, away from relatives and friends and support systems, you know, just so you can work in an office that had a vacancy open, you know, recently. Sorry, let me move this over a little bit. Apologize if that's noisy. And let's see if I can keep going here. So yeah, let's try a few. Actually, I won't try those in black. I'll do those in pink. Do some cherry blossoms. Once I decide what I'm gonna do here. I guess maybe some beer cans too. Yeah, they have those kind of tall boy beer cans here that are really common. Yeah, I don't remember. I can't. It's just been too long. I don't remember how much a can of beer is in the U.S. But yeah, buying them a can at a time, or even 12 packs. It's pretty expensive here. I don't remember it being quite so crazy in the U.S. What is this? Let's see here. Oof, way too big. Yeah, I'm drawing really small today, so this is going to make for an odd... It's going to make for some odd-looking cartoons. But we'll see. And then maybe the fallen over can. All right. But yeah, so that's a really strange thing. The little bit of teaching that I did here, I couldn't get over that, like spring being the end of the end and beginning of the school year, because you just weren't ready. And the funny thing about public schools here is they love to shuffle their employees, and so I think you got 3 years at a school. This is just for public schools. You've got 3 years at a school, and then they start offering you positions to take at other schools, in other locations, like usually within the same school, or definitely within the same school district, but you know, it's a pretty wide area, and so you'll be kind of shuffled around to different schools. So you get the option, like within the first 3 years, to choose. So you can find a place that's, you know, more convenient, or someplace that you would like, or that you have you know, other coworkers or somebody that you like already there. And I think it's either 3 or 4 years, and if you don't make the move within that time, they just move you. You just get randomly assigned to a new place, and so that happens in the spring. So between sometime between March and April, you just show up to you just report to a new principal in a new school, a new school in a new area, and also that means that the faculty just shifts around like crazy. And the strange thing about that for me is that hides the problem teachers. I mean, the incompetent teachers and the dangerous teachers, the people that you may want to punish or get them out of teaching, force them out of teaching. Moving around that much, then they go to a situation where people don't know what they're capable of, or how much of a problem they are, and so they just can keep continuing. They keep hiding in that situation, and yeah, it's a little disturbing that they use that system, because it doesn't. I mean, I think it helps. It helps from the teachers getting too entrenched, kind of in the situation they're in, and maybe having toxic cliques, or creating atmospheres for other coworkers that are miserable. But at the same time, it also hides their incompetence, and their sometimes dangerous incompetence, or the bad ideas they have with students. And I think Japan's a little bit notorious for that, having some really weird abusive teachers. So there's that, and this school system just kind of helps reinforce that. What are we doing here? Okay, so I got some alcohol and some tarp. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else. What else? I've seen a lot of barbecuing or obento out under the cherry blossoms, but and I think I've already done the joke where there's petals everywhere. So let's just keep doing some other stuff here. All right. But yeah, so we're in spring, and yeah, new series on the other podcast, and what else? Yeah, so yeah, I think we was talking about Shape of Water last week. I haven't seen anything. Oh, I did actually see, since last week, saw Black Panther, which I was happy to get a chance to see here. Japan's pretty good with the kind of Disney stuff. They get a lot of the Disney movies, sometimes pretty currently, and I guess it's not too much of a delay compared to the US release. But yeah, that was the so there was so much going on. I remember seeing when it was the first reviews were coming in, it was maintaining its 100%. When did Rotten Tomatoes become this default measure? I mean, it's just basically Metacritic, isn't it? I mean, maybe they choose different reviewers, maybe it's not, it's a different sampling of reviewers or stuff, but it's just one of those aggregator, not aggregator, what's the gathering, it just combines a bunch of scores from a bunch of publicly available sources. But it's so weird that that's gotten so much attention and become such a people want those stickers on their DVD cases of certified fresh. So something happened with that. But oh yeah, so it was getting perfect scores for a while, and that was a that was nice to see. So that was meaning, wow, this is they did a great job with it. And then all the negative, just like everything else, it has to be politicized, because you can draw it along racial lines or be offended by whatever content or ideas in it, so it then immediately became political and controversial, and that's too bad, because yeah, that's the one thing that it doesn't need to be, because you know, I guess though, from after seeing it though, it did surprisingly for a in one of these kind of, you know, light comic book movies, the drama in it, or the conflict was very touching, and it was very you know, it was, you know, family betraying family, and you know, kind of the interesting part was the cousin, I guess, that, you know, that had grown up kind of abandoned in America, and that the Michael B. Jordan character, Killmonger, that was really, you know, you really felt that the you know, that kind of contrast between, you know, African born and African royalty, and then the same blooded relatives in North America, and, you know, the history of slavery and things, you know, that made that what would have been a much, you know, lighter thing, and was in a surprisingly light movie, that made that really intense, and that conflict was very you know, it had a lot of power. And the friend that I went with said that he yeah, emotionally, you know, he teared up at a couple of the references that especially during the death scene, the Killmonger death scene. A few of his lines would just, you know, just brought him to tears. It was very powerful, and that's amazing. That's an amazing thing to have in a you know, in a Disney made you know, Marvel superhero movie, you know, that was kind of made. I don't you know, don't want to say anything disparaging about you know, Stan Lee or Jack Kirby, but I think that creation of that character was just a little bit opportunistic, and I think even Disney's, you know, release of the film in February and everything to coincide with Black History Month was a little bit opportunistic as well. But it was surprising in that, in a product, you know, in an entertainment product, that was, you know, that was used to make money and kind of, you know, exploit a theme, that it was that powerful, that it, you know, they actually, you know, it had some intense and, you know, emotional impact like that. So I thought that was good, and I was sad to see, you know, so race, of course, is the big you know, the you know, the inclusion, like an all black film, or, you know, almost completely all black film, you know, showing that, you know, that it kind of functioned equally as any of the other you know, Marvel properties, was really nice to see. But then, you know, the kind of political fighting and the people frustrated with agendas or whatever they saw in the film, and then unfortunately the, you know, negative, you know, because everything has to be global, everything has to be worldwide, and I don't think Disney's doing really great in China, especially. I don't think Star Wars or the superhero movies do particularly well. And then, you know, of course, you have the, you know, racial negative reaction to people that aren't even you know, that live in a very homogenous country, that don't understand any of the you know, the kind of weight or significance of these issues. So that made me a little sad. I'm talking about the Chinese, you know, internet reaction, which, you know, internet reaction is a lot of garbage. You can't really see it as you know, very genuine or a very accurate representation of you know, popular opinion, because people are just trying to you know, get a reaction in a lot of the time. So that was, yeah, that was very unfortunate, very kind of depressing to see that people aren't, you know, able to appreciate kind of what that means. And I guess, you know, because it is it's an American situation and an American, you know, story, that it may only be appreciated well within the context of America, because a lot of what foreign cultures appreciate about America is just the coolness and the, the over the topness of America. So they maybe can't enjoy, yeah, I think a lot of that isn't going to play well overseas, which is a shame because I think that's I think that would be great. But yeah, because all countries are dealing with their own inequalities and non-inclusion and things. So yeah, to see that as some kind of example or some kind of standard to pay attention to would be nice. But yeah, but enough of that. I'm not gonna say anything that's gonna be all that enlightening. But I was enjoyed the movie. I was surprised how well it was done. It didn't have the feeling so much of one of the kind of B grade Marvel properties like Ant-Man, or even like the later Thor, like the second Thor movie and stuff. That seemed pretty much like, okay, we're kind of obligated to do this because we started this, and we're doing trilogies of all these big heroes, and those just seemed like, okay, they were going through the motions, and it didn't feel like that at all. So I was happy to see that. Okay, wait, these guys. All right, but yeah, so so a little bit, maybe a little bit delay in the release, but not too bad compared to some of the other movies. I think both, especially Sony, but Disney and some of the other companies are getting the movies out in Japan. Although it's so unpredictable, because sometimes Japan is the last country to get certain movies, and I don't know, because they have to negotiate. They're just tough negotiators with the deals that they're not willing to make, or if they need a lot of financing and a lot of production time to do the Japanese dub, and they hire famous voice actors, and so if that causes the delay and the expense. But yeah, I'm often surprised how late Japan is. What are we doing here? How late Japan is with all of the big movies. So our summer movies usually end up being late fall movies, in a lot of times the big summer movies. All right. So that was books. I'm trying to see what else. So yeah. So what else is going on here? Yeah, I've got, before I do this stream every week, just to kind of give you a little bit of context. Before I do the stream, I've got 2 hours of private lessons and conversation at the local university here. So I'm really talked out. So it's amazing. It's amazing that I can actually get through this first hour saying anything, because I've already been talking for 2 hours about current events and everything else, and just I don't have a lot of energy, or even a lot to say, which is funny. So yeah, I'm trying to keep it going. So literally this is my 3rd and 4th hour of just almost constant talking today. Oh yeah, so interesting. All right. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a bit. Oh yeah, that's another interesting thing here. Japan is the thing that I've noticed that feels very different. Oh, I forgot my touches on. Feels very different in Japan is there's still so many magazines and paper publications here. People still read a lot of pocket-sized novels. They've got this really great standardized mini pocket-sized novel that people buy, and there's just it's so easy to have in a bag or in your back pocket or whatever. So different from the mass market and especially the trade paperbacks in the U.S., which are kind of cumbersome and kind of difficult to bring with you sometimes. They've got a little standard pocket size book, and people are either constantly recycling them, bringing them to the resale shops, or just bundling them up like they were, flattened cardboard boxes and putting them out in the trash. So sometimes you'll see just giant bundles tied with nylon strap, that nylon, or not nylon, the recycled trash bag kind of plastic strapping, or twine, just out in the trash, and it's just paper recycling. And so they use not great quality paper, like for the comic books and things. You probably know it's a really low grade, kind of newsprint quality, and but people just recycle books so easily. And I think it's because if you're into collecting books and you go to used bookstores in Japan, like in Tokyo, the Jimbocho area is a very popular bookstore area. A lot of nice used bookstores and paper goods, movie posters and postcards and magazine collecting and things. But the weather here, the wet, hot weather here, is not kind to paper, and a lot of stuff just gets really damaged. It was a gorgeous used bookstore with really like 100-year-old used books to look at in English and Japanese, and a lot of really interesting histories and things, and so much mold and water damage on these books. But still, they're asking a pretty high price, but it's also probably because it's Tokyo. But yeah, I was surprised. So it's a very paper culture, but also the climate is just not friendly to collecting paper. So I've got, like, in my room with my bookshelves, I've got a dehumidifier just running constantly to try to keep any mold at bay, because if you don't, it's just crazy. You just take books off the shelf and you just look, and there's just mildew back behind your books, just because it's just so wet and stuff just kind of sits. So if you're not constantly running air conditioning or something in a room, which you don't here, you kind of are only doing that in the room that you're currently active in. So there's not central air as commonly here. So yeah, that probably adds to it, because you're not getting the air dried the same way you would. But yeah, so that's an interesting thing. So they just bundle up their books that they finished and just shuffle them out. Although a lot of people do have shelves and shelves of manga. They save their comics, but you see bundles of books and magazines and things here so commonly, and that feels so different. I think people throw magazines out in the trash, but yeah, you don't see them neatly bundled, and it's just like an entire year of some publication just wrapped up and ready to go out for recycling. So yeah, what inspired that? So books and things. Yeah, I guess because I was drawing comics. Oh yeah, so I guess I will maybe do some book bundling. So let's do that. Let's move the books in boxes here. I guess we're doing a culture thing. Okay, so let's move these guys out. And maybe this box too. Where is he? That's the first guy. Get him. Okay. And then everybody else will put under the cherry trees. All right. There we go. So, desperately trying to maintain my energy and talking levels. All right. So let's come up with a little bit of a composition for these guys. So yeah, here's the mat, and actually that doesn't need the fill that I think these guys are going to need to kind of get things spatially. Maybe these guys to fill these. So yeah, we can put things in front. Oh, what's this? Oh, that's the mat. That's the bottle. So my sake bottle. And our tipped over friend here. Okay. Oh, and even this part, and maybe this part. There we are. Okay. Alright, so a little bit more. And maybe the bottle too, a little bit bigger with the bottle. Oh, that's this, right? Yeah. Yeah, because I think the beers are looking a little tall, and then that would put that cap somewhere. Here? Yeah, there it is. And the cap can be off by itself. Alright, so let's see if I can squeeze this in here. Alright. Okay. Okay, so there we got our little hanami composition here. And yeah, I guess this is going to be a very Japanese, very Japanese week. Where's that box? Here? Yeah. Yeah, so let's make the box bigger. Yeah, I'm also curious about the, I guess I'll just fill these. Oh, closed? Yeah. Oh. Grr. Yeah, let's take that away, that last fill. I don't think I want that to be in the wrong layer. Okay. Alright, good. Now I always do this, put all of that above the color. That's crazy. Alright, there we go. So maybe one more. Nope, not that, sorry. One more high for the stack here. And then kind of get them under control a little bit. Yeah, they're looking kind of narrow, long and narrow for comics, but I don't know. And let's do a little bundle of those trade books. Oops. There we go. Zoom in a little bit. All right. Where are we size-wise? Oh, that's why I was drawing so thin, is because I was drawing that size. Yeah. Yeah, I love those little mass market books. They're so amazing. They make, you know, reading seem so snack-like, you know, and I think they do have a lot of like what they call light novels here. So they're, you know, maybe more along the lines of the, you know, YA fiction that is now so popular in the US, but they're not very, you know, not very heavy or serious books. So just, you know, love stories or thrillers or whatever. That kind of thing again and again. Oops. Boom. We're already doing that. Okay. And a little stack. Oops, a little stack. Where is that? Oh, that's the middle one there. Okay. Oh, a little stack of these guys. I think this will go on top. All right. Yeah, I think these guys are gonna need, yeah, I don't, okay, let's duplicate these and then hide them just in case I really screw this up. And then just merge these guys together and then see if I can shorten this a bit. I just don't like, yeah, how long these are looking. Yeah, that might work okay. Yeah, I have to correct it a bit, but yeah, should be okay. Let's do that. Yeah, so that bottom looks okay, so maybe get in here a little bit. Come on. Sorry, it's a little bit laggy today. Let's try some of this. Oh, I think that's what I did. You know, when I was doing these lines, it needed me to make the lines much smaller. Actually, I don't think this is gonna look very good. Nope. Oh. A little bit rough. Yeah, oops. Yeah, I'm in that weird thing again. Where am I? Oh, no, 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 no. What is this? Go away. My keyboard shortcuts are not responding. Wonderful. There we go. Yeah, I get something's getting chewed on or hanging up there. That just, yeah, it seems to happen sometimes with Photoshop. I don't know if it's like checking, you know, if it's going online to try to do something or update something, but sometimes it just chokes. Yeah, I guess that, you know, they want these to look ragged and things, so I guess that'll work. And yeah, I think I'm gonna do everything else as color, so that should work. That didn't really help much. It was a lot of work and it didn't really do much, but oh well, there it is. Okay. Okay, so I guess we'll start with this and just do the light. So these covers always have a lovely light pastel, even lighter than that though, really light pastel look. So we'll do that. A more interesting blue. And there we go. And then for the paper, I guess we want that yellowy look that all the wonderfully damaged paper gets here. Let's see how dirty that looks. A little too dirty. Lighten it up a bit. Yeah, there we go. And this will just be cardboard box color. Yeah, that'll do good. Relatively, and then we can do weirder colors for the manga covers. And crazy blue. Okay, and for the manga, I think I'll do the... Actually, it's kind of these colors. The ice cream, the Neapolitan ice cream kind of layers of the manga. So, yeah, the color of the paper changes. I know probably everybody knows this, but the color of the paper changes because they're just, you know, however it falls in the run, they're just using, you know, cheap recycled paper. So the comics always have that funny layers of different color. Oh, actually, I can probably just fill this except for here. Can probably just fill the rest. Yeah, like that. So, I'm sure everybody's seen that. And I think actually they repeat more than once. I think it's actually, you know, every folio or whatever you call it, of the, it changes probably, you know, every 20 pages or something. Much more often than this, but this will simulate that. And this way we'll put them in a little different order. All right, go back to here. Maybe do this just one more layer. Yeah, I don't know if they have these diagonal bands, but I always love that for books and things. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen that. Yeah, but that'll be our manga representation. And then some tape on the box. Get that nice contrasty yellow, tapey look. Here we go. And maybe a little bit brighter. Something like that. All right, there we are. And let's do the shading and such. Yeah, and this is the part every week where I stop talking because I'm so talked out. I'm so damn tired. Yeah, so that might be another reason to to change the day of the live stream. Yeah, might be a consideration. Make it easier, and I can actually have more energy and kind of plan out some more topics that might help a bit. But yeah, and eventually I'll try to get fighting with the chat so that we can that might feed, you know, feed a discussion, or the discussion of the day. So that'll be a good thing. Oh, I'll just put a little line around this tape so we can see it. And now that other line. All right. Yeah, try to contrast the edge of these pages a little bit, because it is such a bright pastel. All right. Yeah, I think that works. Yeah. So what's left is kind of to do this with the ground. Oh yeah, so May, I'm doing the, I think I've mentioned this every week now, doing the Tokyo Design Festa again. So maybe, depending on scheduling, maybe I'll have some Citizen Spaceman, the next Citizen Spaceman, or at least a tease of it or something, ready for that show. So that would be great. But I don't know. I don't know work-wise, you know, what I'm going to need to do, what else I'm going to need to do before then. So maybe, hopefully, I don't know. At that show, especially because it's not strictly a manga show, I don't know if there's much of an audience waiting for it, but I know at the other manga shows there probably is. Okay, I think I just want this to be a shadow, yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, but since I started writing the other stories, I've, you know, lost my kind of pace with the Spaceman, and, you know, wasn't very motivated by some of the feedback I was getting. But I will persist, and I at least want to get, you know, the core of that story finished, because I thought that was really, you know, I was really inspired to do it, and I think it's pretty important. Yeah, just expression wise, I think it's a pretty important story to tell. All right, it's time for the eyes. All right, and I think, yeah, I think I'll do the bundling on these as well. I might have to go in here, so above the color but below some of the, yeah, below the shadowing. All right, let's see if I can make this, look convincing. Oh wait, D, yeah, I want to go, oh, I need to be above that too, yeah. So I think I need to go another level. Yeah, So there's going to need to be another level of the kind of highlights. So this actually reads as that plastic. Then maybe an extra layer of shadow just specifically for that, just so we can see that sitting on top. Otherwise it's going to look even more mysterious than it already does. Yeah, so that's putting a double layer of shadow on the already shadowy parts, so that should make it pop up a little bit more. Hopefully that looks good. There we go. Now they look bundled. A. Okay, and maybe the box is the only one who knows the sad truth. All right, so there's our recycling joke. Oh, and here's our drinking in the park joke. All right. Oh man, this is brutal. Okay, so what are we at? Oh yeah, we're getting there. Okay, let's get this colored. I don't know, is this entertaining or is this just hard to watch? I'm still trying to figure that out. This whole process, if it's inspiring or good to know about, or if it's just hard to believe that someone puts themselves through this on a weekly basis. I don't know. You tell me. Okay, so just like a little gray cup, and maybe a goldish gold. Yeah, gold's tricky because you end up with kind of a desaturated orange or brown sometimes. But yeah, and it's all, you know, just in the contrast, how you get it to read in its contrastiness. Or just, you know, its relation to other colors. I think we'll go then lighter. Just for this for now. Yeah, I think this is particularly accurate, but it'll be a nicer contrast. Yeah, it might actually be the other way around. Oops, that's all gonna have to be by hand. All right. Yeah, the contrast just isn't enough. All right. And yeah, maybe it is basically the same color. Oh. All right. Now I've got to find that blue. Tarpy blue. That looks pretty good. No, a little bit blue, darker blue. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, maybe the first one. Maybe I should make that brass. So it sticks out. I don't know if they are actually brass, but yeah, just so it doesn't blend in with all of that. All right, and now let's do some markings on our cans. So just kind of, oh, let's do that. Make sure I'm not writing on the lines. All right, and then little bit of this. Okay, and then let's kind of fade that out a little bit. All right. And then do a kind of gold label on this bottle. Yeah, there we go. All right. All right. Yikes. Yeah, I'll have to turn these labels off, I think, to get this to fill decently. Come on, catch up, catch up. Wow. I don't know what's going on up here. I guess it's too dark. It's not very saturated either, that brown. I don't know if that looks like a... It's going to read like bottle glass or not. Alright, let's turn this stuff off just for now. Ah, of course. Yeah, my fills are not contrasty enough. Yeah, this is just the dumb way to do this, but oh well. Just didn't pick colors, or I guess I could turn down the... I didn't even check to see what the tolerance was. But let's just get this done. I'm fading. All right. All right. I didn't do any of the tarp. But it's important to get that kind of three-dimensional thing going. And because almost everything is on the tarp, that'll make it easier to do the shadows. Oh, come on. How high is the tolerance? 32? Yeah, should be fine. That should be fine. Okay. And then a little bit of the shininess. There we go. Yeah, that weird reflective-y plastic part. Okay, so now just the where it's this other stuff is hitting the ground, and we're all set. Oh, that looks better than I thought. Okay, oh, right, and one more thing. Let's see if I can do this here. Maybe here. So, do the little petals everywhere. We'll just make them miraculously balancing. Yeah, it needs to be smaller to kind of make this believable. There we go. And then we'll go through, kind of put them on the, come on. Put them on the ground a little bit. Trying to make them too dirty. Go. And what about this? Yeah. That'll visually, oh, especially for that guy, make him look a little bit more interesting. At least half. There we go. And I think everything should go up a little bit. Yeah, kind of center it that way a little bit more. All right. And maybe some writing on here in a less muted way. There we go. All right. Oh, and maybe even a little bit more here. Okay. There we go. And now some eyes, and we have finished, except for the hardest part, which is to make it funny. I don't know where the eyes on this tarp are gonna go. The cup, I guess, works, and this, I guess, works. The tarp maybe down here. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. Wow. Okay. So we have our Hanami party and our recycled manga. Well, that's very Easter colors. That's right. Easter and April Fool's Day were the same Sunday this year. I didn't hear too much about it. Okay. Oh, ho, ho. Okay. Oh. Let's see. Only, I already screwed it up. Only the box knew what recycling actually involved. Only the box knew what recycling actually involved. Something like that. Oh. All right. Oh. Oh, sorry. Sit off camera for a second here. All right, there we go. Almost there. So, something about alcohol under the trees. Oh. Let's see here. Social drinking. They combined the best of social drinking and nature appreciation. Let's see. To one dynamic seasonal package. Actually, not social drinking, it was a public drinking. Because it's very much in front of people that probably aren't drinking. They, not the, they combined the best of public drinking and nature appreciation into one dynamic seasonal package. That's one of those long ones that it's probably funnier if I can shorten it. I'm not going to be able to shorten that. They combine the best of public drinking and nature appreciation into one dynamic seasonal package. Yay. Yeah, not very dynamic. I like one dynamic seasonal package, though. All right. Okay. They combine the best of public drinking and nature appreciation into one dynamic seasonal package. All right. And only the box knew what was recycling actually involved. I'm not sure. Yeah, only the box knew what recycling actually involved. Yeah, I think that works. I can't. Yeah, I'm gonna get too wordy if I think too far into this. Yeah, only the box knew what recycling actually involved, and they combined the best of public drinking and nature appreciation into one dynamic seasonal package. All right. So that is this week. Wow. So a little Hanami and Japanese book recycling. How topical. I guess I inspired myself this week. Oh, but yeah, thank you for joining me. And we'll be back next week with more. So please follow me on Twitter for this cartoon at Abuse Cartoons. AbuseCartoons.com is the website, and also YouTube and Twitch. There are channels there that have the archives of these streams. So yeah, please enjoy. Put them on in the background while you're working, and hopefully it's an interesting and inspiring conversation and not just a bunch of grunting and mumbling to myself. But yeah, thanks again for joining me. And if you want this to be more than a weekly thing, and you want to see more books, more domestic abuse, expand it into the daily cartoon that it used to be, please consider supporting me on Patreon for this cartoon, patreon.com/abusecartoons. And there's original art, signed books, and just access to the creation of the cartoon more directly, and also supporting it to let it get back to its daily origin. So thanks again for being with me, and look in the archives for weeks and weeks and weeks of this. I'm sure I talk about all kinds of nonsense, and especially holidays. Yeah, a lot of holidays and cultural differences that might be fun. So I'll see you next week. Thanks again. Goodbye.